nothing to be afraid of. Virtual reality will rehabilitate your mind and eventually your body. You'll be alright, I promise. Just concentrate. We'll try some music.
Okay, this experience happened in 2011 in July, and I think it was a Wednesday morning, and it happened at 6 a.m. and this entity came forward, which I thought was my spirit guide. I thought all of these experiences I was having was, you know, given to me by my spirit guide, but it was actually aliens. Because I met my spirit guide in 2003. And so I thought she was the one that just kept giving me all, you know, a bunch of experiences that I had and, you know, paranormal activity. I thought it was all her and her two black friends, Danley and Mabe. But now I realize it was all aliens. But anyway, in 2011, I did not know the aliens were in my life at that time. And for whatever reason, this entity came forward, and I mean, I was awake in the bed. I mean, I guess maybe I was slightly groggy, but I don't think I was. I was completely freaking awake. That's what was really neat about this experience, because I was like totally awake, and this entity kept pulling me out of body, and I kept fighting it. And I thought I was going to go, you know, I really thought I was going to go out of body. I mean, I could have went out of body 50,000 times that day if I didn't have to get up and go to work at 8 o'clock. Well, I had to get up at 7, but, you know, I really thought I was just going to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. Keep shooting off and keep shooting off and keep shooting off. But I thought it was my spirit guide that gave me the telepathic communication that morning. On a Wednesday morning in 2011 of July. Not long after I bought this house, an entity came forward and said, just tell me where you want to go and I'll plop you there. And I maybe was asking back then to get my astral travel abilities back. I maybe was asking, you know, my spirit guide or whatever. Like, I know I was, you know, from like 2006 onward, I was asking to get my astral travel abilities back, because I kept astral traveling and going and plopping in different dimensions and shit back in 2003, 4, 5, and 6. And then when I moved to Texas, it seemed like they kind of stopped. So then from 2006, you know, on forward, I kept asking occasionally to get my abilities back. And so I maybe was asking to get my abilities back. I probably was. But this entity came forward on this morning, on this particular morning of July of 2011. And as far as I remember, I mean, I was pretty much awake in the bed. I don't remember being in a groggy state at all. I maybe was, but it seemed like I was pretty damn awake. But yeah, if they want to, they can take you out of body even while awake. And boom, stick you in an altered... I mean, they could take you out of body while awake, and then they could just, bam, throw you in an altered state if they wanted to. They're normally not going to do it like that. I mean, if I was just at work or something, yeah, they could take me out of body if they really wanted to. They could do a lot of things, but they're not that disrespectful. So, but it seemed like I was totally freaking awake. I don't remember being in a groggy state at all. And it happened at 6 a.m. where this being came forward. Not physically came forward, but this being was like, just tell me where you want to go and I'll plop you there. Or I'll take you there. And I thought it was my spirit guide telling me that. I thought it was my spirit guide, my ancient Egyptian spirit guide that I met in 2002 or 2003. She came to me and she was beautiful. She was straight up ancient Egyptian. But anyway, and I talked to her on the Ouija board a lot. But, so anyway, this entity, which I thought was my spirit guide, but really was an alien. I don't know if it was male or female. But anyway, I thought it was my spirit guide telling me that, or dictating that to me. Just tell me where you want to go and I'll take you there. And I was like, Zon, take me to another planet. So she takes me out of body and then boom, plops me down on another planet. Which I'll pretend like it's planet Mercury, because this planet was an 800-degree planet. And I totally felt like, I mean, back then I really thought that I was in 3D. I thought I was out of body. I knew I was out of body, but I thought I was, this particular incident or whatever, I thought I was still in 3D, but just on another planet. And when I was at the daycare center, I thought I was in 3D, but just, in 3D at a daycare center. That's what I thought anyway. But, both of those incidences could have been, they could have just been virtual reality experiences. But even back in 2003 and 2004 and 2005, I had some experiences where, a couple of them were different. A lot of them I thought I was in the heaven realm, and then a few I knew that I was in 3D. I was taken out of body, but then put in 3D environment or whatever, real-time 3D. And still, I'm not quite sure about that. Like when I was taken to the school back in 2004, I was taken out of body and then bam, just plopped down in the school down the street. And I really thought I was in 3D, and I still think I was in 3D. And, for that, I did not have to astral travel because it was so close to me. It was just down the street from me. And anyway, I was walking around. I knew I was out of body. I always knew I was out of body. I always, felt all of that sensations, and I knew what was happening to me, but I thought I was going out of body on my own. I didn't realize the aliens were helping me do that. And I was walking around the school, and I was just like looking. I was concentrating in on people's faces, the students and the teachers. I saw a female teacher walking around, and I just remember thinking, wow. I was like, wow, like I was like, I can see them, but they can't see me. This is so cool. Because I knew they couldn't see me, but I could see them. And like when you're out of body like that, you kind of have to concentrate hard if you want to see, like sometimes if you want to see tiny features of their face and stuff, sometimes you kind of have to concentrate hard. Yeah, it was really cool. But I still think I was in 3D back then, real-time 3D at the schoolhouse down the street. But a couple times, I thought I went to the heaven realm, and now I know it was just some kind of virtual reality environment that the aliens created for me. So my perception in 2011, when this being came forward and said, tell me where you want to go and I'll take you anywhere, I thought it was my spirit guide, and now I'm thinking it's probably a reptilian. I can see a reptilian coming forward. Most of the time, they answered my calls, They're the ones that would always answer my calls. And I could totally see a reptilian just, coming forward and doing that. Totally. Not all the times did they do sexual things. A lot of them aren't perverts like that. And, so anyway, I was like, Zon, take me to another planet. So she takes me out of body, and I can't remember this time if I actually astral traveled for a little bit before I, bam, landed on the planet, or if she just, like, in a split second, pew, like, plopped me down on the planet. I can't remember, but I think once I said, "Son, take me to another planet," I think she just kind of like, you know, split second, took me out of body, bam, landed me on the other planet. I can't remember, because lots of times back 2003, 4, 5, and 6, I actually would shoot out of body. Such a blast. Like right when I would lay down, I'd disrupt the sleep cycle. Right when I lay down, split second before I fell asleep, I would shoot off, and I would like twirl and twirl and twirl and twirl through the black galaxy. And then I would anticipate, okay, when am I going to land? When am I going to land? And then boom, because once I landed, boom, everything just lit up. The other dimension just lit up. And, but this particular time, I can't remember if I did that or not, when this being kept taking me out of body. But, so anyway, once the being landed me on the other planet, I could feel the heat on my astral arm, my left arm. I could feel the heat. I mean, it was hot. But since I was astral, it felt like 100 degrees. And, you know, if I was physically there, of course, it would probably feel 800 degrees. So anyway, I went to the bookstore to see what planet was like hot, you know, and it said Mercury was like 800 degrees Fahrenheit. So I think they took me to planet Mercury because it was a very hot planet. But of course, since I was astral, it didn't feel quite 800 degrees. It felt 100 degrees. But I still think it was planet Mercury. I'll pretend that it is. But anyway, the ground, the surface was like mushy, soft. It was like mushy and soft, almost like soft, mushy clay, really light clay color. And I was barefoot, and I kept floating above the ground like a few inches, and I kept bobbing up and down, you know, because I was astral, and I kept trying to make myself go back down so where I could touch the surface with my feet, because I kept bobbing up a few inches, floating up since I was astral and pretty much weightless. And so, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And it was kind of like I was facing, it was kind of like I was facing south. Well, I don't know what I was really facing, but it's kind of like I was facing south. And it seemed like I remember turning around and I saw like a 5-foot tall little tree or something. But that I'm only like 5% sure of. But yeah, there wasn't anybody walking around or anything. There wasn't any life on this planet. Well, at least not in 3D anyway. Because you can't live on 800-degree planet physically. There could have been bugs or something, but yeah, so basically I was there by myself. And, you know, there wasn't a sun. It wasn't bright. There wasn't a sun. If anything, it was just more like, it wasn't dark. It was more like just dusk, I guess. Well, a little brighter than dusk, but there wasn't a sun. It wasn't bright like that, and it wasn't dark either. But anyway, so this being took me to another planet, and then once, but like I say, the surface, I wonder what the surface is really like. I don't know, but I mean, it was totally soft and mushy, just like soft clay. It was awesome. And, so then I laid back down, and like I say, from my perception at that time, I mean, I really thought that, I mean, if I didn't have to go to work, you know, at 7 o'clock, or, you know, get ready at 7 o'clock, I really thought that I was going to just like, bam, 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 bam. I could have went out of body 50,000 times. But I realize now, you know, that being wasn't going to let me go out of body and take me to all these other, you know, dimensions and virtual reality places that many times. That being wasn't going to do that with me, you know, 5-6 hours straight. But I really thought, if I didn't have to go to work that day, I was like, man, I could have just kept going out of body, kept going out of body, and going out of body, and having all these successful trips. I only had 2 successful trips that morning. because I was so alert and awake. I kept fighting it and suppressing it. I mean, this experience was so weird and different because he or she kept taking me out of body, and I was still totally awake. I mean, I was totally 100% awake. I wasn't even slightly groggy. I mean, maybe I was, but from what I remember, I was totally awake, and I just kept being pulled out of body and pulled out of body and pulled out of body by technology or whatever. I think by their technology. Sometimes they can pull me out by their hands, but anyway, every time I kept trying to go out of body, I would fight it. So I only had 2 successful trips this morning. Otherwise, I could have had many out-of-body successful trips if I didn't suppress it. But so that was the first successful astral travel trip, was to the other planet. And like I said, I just blurted out, "Zon, take me to another planet." And she did. But like I say, now I know it was an alien. Probably reptilian. And but every time, I mean, this is what was weird about this experience this morning in 2011 of July on a Wednesday. Every time, before I even could lay my back down, before I even laid my back down on the bed, like, I mean, I would be like halfway about to lay back down, and then boom, I would go out again. And then like boom, I would go out again, and I would go out again. And I just kept fighting it and fighting it and fighting it and fighting it. I mean, it's freaking awesome, and I keep asking for them to duplicate that. And of course, yeah, they're giving me all these other experiences and stuff, but no, they're never going to duplicate anything exactly again, you know? And so anyway, so finally, I laid back down. I got my back finally back down on the bed. And then, you know, here it comes again. Tell me where you want to go, and I'll plop you there. So I was like, "Zon, take me to another." I was like, "Zon, take me to any building." I mean, I didn't have a lot of time to think about it. You know, I'm not that creative. Because now I wish I would have said, "Take me to Giza, Egypt." But I didn't have a lot of time to think about it. It's like I felt like I was kind of pressured to hurry up and say something. So I was like, "Zon, take me to any building." So here I go again, go out of body, and boom, they plop me, or she or he, the entity, plops me down in a daycare center. And there wasn't any children walking around. It's like they were already out of school or whatever. And I was walking around the daycare center, and that's not the first time they've stuck me in a daycare center either. That's what I'm saying. It's probably reptilian, because they do same thing over and over and over again, their style and stuff, and they'll duplicate things. Like, they plop me down in churches many times, and this isn't the first time they've taken me to a daycare center. And anyway, so I was walking around and looking at little candy wrappers, and there's a couple little toys. And I would reach down and touch the little candy wrappers. It was so freaking cool. And yeah, so I'd reach down and touch the little candy wrappers. And I was just like walking around. There wasn't any children at all. And that was it. Like I said, I mean, I thought I could have literally had 5,000 successful out-of-body experiences that morning if I didn't have to get up and go to work. And once I went to work, which would have been a Thursday morning, once I went to work on Thursday, I mean, no, not Thursday, I mean that Wednesday morning or whatever. Once I went to work, it's like, oh my God, I just felt like on top of the world. I always feel on top of the world after I have an out-of-body experience. But of course, back in 2003, 4, 5, and 6, I thought I was doing it on my own. I was going out of body every freaking day, from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And I thought I was doing that on my own, and I wasn't. The aliens were doing that, you know, were triggering me to do that. But yeah, I mean, but most of the time, those times when I'd go out of body, man, I just always felt like on top of the world the next day. Or that day, I mean. But yeah, it was fun. So yeah, that particular morning, 2011 of July, I only had 2 successful trips, out-of-body experiences, but I could have had many more.